To know in 6 minutes starts now.
They hope they'll finally get what they want. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Republican lawmakers demanding classified info about the investigation into the Trump campaign and if it was infiltrated. We'll get to review documents at a meeting the White House Chief of Staff has set up with the FBI and Department of Justice.
Who was involved with doing this? How many people? Who was paid? Were they directed by people at FBI to do this? How did it happen? And we just need all the facts on that.
Congressman Ron DeSantis tells Fox he wants a special counsel, a second one. But Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intel Committee, wonders, are these the same materials DOJ warned could risk lives in investigations? Why share them now? And he adds the president must not abuse his power. At the Capitol this hour, House members will get a classified briefing on election security from the heads of the FBI and Homeland Security and the Director of National Intelligence.
Republicans and Democrats have raised concerns about Election Day vulnerabilities after reports hackers attempted to tap into voter registration databases and other state election systems. There's no evidence any votes were changed in 2016, but the Senate Intelligence Committee is recommending states make improvements to voting systems, replacing old software and updating technology.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. The effort to get McDonald's to pay workers more has become supersized, with lawsuits against the fast food giant stemming from the Me Too movement. Fox's Jeff Manasso has this live.
Dave, two national groups are teaming up to lodge sexual harassment complaints against McDonald's on behalf of 10 female workers in 9 cities who allege groping, indecent exposure, and lewd comments by supervisors. The women say their complaints were ignored or mocked or retaliated against. The legal effort being organized by Fight for 15 and the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. McDonald's, in a response, says there's no place for harassment or discrimination of any kind in the workplace. Dave.
Jeff, still no arrests after an all-night search in Maryland for the suspects in the murder of a Baltimore County police officer. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
All money managers may seem pretty much the same. But while some money managers may recommend high-commission investment products, Fisher Investments avoids them. Some money managers may have hidden and layered fees. Fisher Investments never does. And while some money managers are happy to earn commissions from you, whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're structured to be on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come to us from other money managers. Talk with us and find out why so many experienced investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
We now know the driver in last week's fatal school bus crash was an elderly retiree. Sources have confirmed it was 77-year-old Huddy Muldrow Sr. Muldrow's son says his dad is conscious and recovering and denies trying to make an illegal U-turn. Governor Murphy continues to push for millions in new taxes in his proposed state budget, but insists he is not worried about a stalemate with legislative leaders who oppose the idea and a possible government shutdown next month. The governor says tax hikes will provide needed relief for those struggling to make ends meet.
The middle class has been somewhere between ignored and ravaged over the past 8 years. It's high time to reinvest with gusto into the middle class.
Murphy says he's talking to legislative leaders all the time. The conversations are constructive and nothing is off the table. Governor Murphy's administration penciling in about $13 million in expected revenues from sports betting. His treasurer told lawmakers they expect to tax sports betting at between 8 and 15%. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Periods of rain in the forecast for today in the form of showers and thunderstorms. It'll be cloudy and cooler amidst those raindrops, with highs limited to the upper 60s to lower 70s. We'll taper to isolated showers tonight, some fog likely. It'll feel muggy with lows in the lower 60s. Lingering showers to start tomorrow, then clearing to sunshine, highs around 80. Renting your first apartment is a big step. Feel secure, cover all your belongings, and live confident with Franklin Mutual Insurance. Find an agent near you at fmiweb.com. Franklin Mutual Insurance, for the way you live. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Chuck Malamut is here, ladies and gentlemen. This is our weekly program with Chuck, who is the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. For the past 27 years, this program is sponsored by, presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck? Woo!
Good morning,
Harry. I was
Harry.
a little busy during the break, so I didn't even get a chance to say hello to you. Crazy times, my friend, but good times.
Hey, first and foremost, congratulations. Thanks for sending the text yesterday.
Thank you.
So now it's just going to get tougher and tougher. But I know that number one slot has your name reserved on it. It's just a matter of when you can go out. It's like remember years ago when you were on the merry-go-round and and then you put those rings out there and you try to grab those rings and. So I know that ring's out there, Harry, it's just a matter of you grabbing that ring, and you'll get there.
Well, so. My nickname when I was a junior executive working for you was Harry 100.
Isn't it still the name?
It still is, but I mean, that's how far back that goes. But here's the reality, though. There are people like Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh. I mean, you look at, to even get on the list of the top 100 most important talk radio hosts in America is almost a miracle in and of itself. I will never set the goal, and I'm usually like this. I don't think you can set it at one because there's just certain realities. You're talking about national broadcasters on 600 and 700 stations. I'm one guy in the metro market, and it's sort of a miracle that we've even been on there for the past 4 years, but I really love the fact that we are.
Well, and the fact that you continue to make that positive
progress
movement. So I'm thinking next year got to crack that number 45.
Where'd you get 45 from?
Well, you went from
could I go 50, like maybe hit 50 or crack 50? Look at it this way. 4 years ago,
I'm looking for at least a 15% move. So
all right, so we went 30% move in 1 year from 100 to 70. Then we went from 70 to 60. And now we've gone from 60 to 57. So I think what that tells you is that you could make some big jumps in the beginning when you demonstrated your brand and your contributions in our industry, but maybe the moves when you hit a certain point.
Yeah, the problem is we're running out of wall space here.
I know. Michael Rubel said, he said, you got to move these down, put the other one up.
I think maybe you got to get a bigger studio.
Need a bigger boat?
It could be, yeah. So,
but it's
really. But all seriousness, Harry, listen, it's an incredible feat. So, and you know what it's like to work, to work hard and continue to work hard. I mean, you never, there are some people that, will work hard and kind of rest and kind of sit on the laurels, and I don't think that's the case here at all. So.
I learned from the Malamut School.
Well, thank you, and the fact that you are so generous to the community has, I mean, that's what really excites me is the fact to be able to participate with you to help others. So,
Chuck, later today, I'm very proud to tell you I will be making a $15,000 deposit at Morgan Stanley later today.
That's great. Congratulations. So you know where we are.
Yes, I do.
So you make sure we'll make sure the doors are open and ready for you, Harry.
I know where to bring it. And so we're very excited about that. And that takes us to a certain point, and I'm expecting to do at least another 20,000 or more over the next 4 weeks. And as you know, because you are my banker, you know we have already awarded thousands and thousands of dollars in grants for the 2018 year. So we're I believe we're going to have a record year in the entire history of the charity event.
And of course, wonderful weather. So that's already forecast. It's not going to be a problem.
You're mouth to God's ears. So what's happening, Chuck? Market update. Now, yesterday was a great day.
Yeah. So let me take a step back here and let's kind of start where the week ended last week.
Yep.
So, for several weeks, it seemed as if the market, continued to move onward and upward because of strong earnings, corporate stock buybacks, mergers and acquisition activity had increased pretty significantly. But that all kind of stopped last week, at least for that week. Investors moved their focus, to the stronger dollar, rising interest rates. And think about the 10-year, pierced at 3.10. Actually, I think it was 3.12 was sort of the high water mark, and has since moved back a little bit. And there's a lot of anxiety, once that 10-year went through 3%. So as a result of all that, stock prices did, in fact, move downward. The S&P was down about 0.5%. The income-oriented sectors came under a lot of pressure, technology, financial as well. So as a result of that, small caps, actually, there's been a lot of focus now, Harry, and small caps fared a lot better and outperformed their large caps. And what is, if the small caps continue to perform, that truly solidifies the fact that, what is happening with the economy is in fact for real. Now, think about what happened over the weekend. I mean, Mnuchin came out and made a statement with respect to, well, maybe we won't put these tariffs in place. And
because we're going to negotiate.
And you walked into the market on Monday morning.
And the Dow says 300 points later, fly high with me. It was beautiful. It really shows that being willing to negotiate and improve these, and I think everybody would agree, maybe some financial people that don't like instability get a little spooked by it, but the deals have been terrible. We've had terrible trade imbalances. So the fact they're going to sit down and work on it, I think, is incredibly positive. And as you say, the fact that the administration announced yesterday that they're not going to implement the moves at this time, that they're on hold, that they agree to hold more talks, and the goal was to boost U.S. exports to China. The markets loved it, didn't they, Chuck?
Well, I think now, Harry, what is happening, the markets are back on that risk on.
Good.
And as a result of that, the Dow up almost 300 points. The S&P, which I think was up 1.2% for the day. The S&P, NASDAQ were up 0.7 and 0.5% respectively for the day. And, I guess, the word relief is probably the best way to describe it, because the market was sort of sitting on pins and needles waiting for, for all the steel and the tariffs, to get rolling, and then everything else as a result, the whole world was going to fall apart. I mean, that was the way the pessimists had, in fact, talked about this. But I think one of the things we talked about, maybe it was last week or the week before, went through a number of events that happened since 2009 to take us where we are today, and what I'll describe as the perma bulls versus the perma bears is the fact that the bears get all the attention, and if you're wrong, it's okay, because you will eventually be correct. And you think about the negativity that puts out there, and the fact that investors, and especially more retail investors, have a tendency to get spooked and actually sell positions when they should be buying, and buy positions when they should be selling them. And it's just a really tough position to work your way out of, because as a result, think about this, Harry. Last week the market's down 0.5%. So in one day, not even one day, it was a matter of 2 hours, you overcame that and then some. So that truly, bodes well for the philosophy that we've talked about for 20 plus years. It's not timing the markets. It's spending time in the market.
Because you talked last week about, was it 6 days?
Yeah, it was 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so think about now yesterday it was a great day, but on comparative basis, nothing comparatively to those 5 days. But think about, you walk into the weekend, you say, oh my goodness, this is really bad. And then you have no shot because Monday morning the equity markets open up, 0.5% higher, pre-market. And so you can't get in. You can't get in to cover the fact that you've been sitting on the sidelines, waiting for that opportunity.
We're going to take our first break. We're going to come right back. Chuck will continue his market update. Anything more about first quarter earnings, winners and losers, the economy, what's happening with the 10-year Treasury bond, corporate tax reform, productivity, small caps, their performance. Chuck will give us the latest, the history of unemployment, job outlook, SALT. There's a lot to talk about here in New Jersey in terms of our new governor and all the taxes he wants. Really incredible times, economic expansion, and more. We've got a lot of ground. It's an ambitious schedule with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, 609-383-2010 to reach the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
At Shore Medical Center, they go to extraordinary lengths to deliver the highest quality of care in a safe and compassionate environment. They are pleased to provide 6 centers of excellence specializing in cancer, cardiovascular, neurological, orthopedic, emergency, maternity, and pediatric health care. To find a doctor, schedule an appointment, or find more information on the many excellent services Shore Medical Center provides, visit shoremedicalcenter.org.
Congratulations to Shore Medical Center for being the only hospital in Atlantic and Cape May counties to earn an A rating for quality and safety by Leapfrog Group for spring 2018. This is the 8th consecutive rating period in which Shore has earned this prestigious honor. Shore is proud of its physicians, nurses, and support staff who continue to provide the highest quality of care to the patients in our community. Find out more at shoremedicalcenter.org. Shore Medical Center, healthcare at its best.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Amy Errett, founder of Madison Reed, a hair color company I named after my daughter. One of the things I value most in life is time. Time to spend with my daughter, time to spend with family, and the time I put into my company that's reinventing the way women color their hair. The busiest, most successful women I know use Madison Reed, the amazing hair color hack. In under an hour and for less than $25, Madison Reed delivers gorgeous, shiny, multi-dimensional, healthy-looking hair with an ammonia-free formula. You'll look like you just came from a salon, but the reality is you have more me time to do what you love. Things get busy. Let us take care of you and your hair. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com and get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code HELLO. That's code HELLO. Try it. Love it. That's the beauty of Madison Reed.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the mayor of the morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rubel, the president of Town Square Media, is in our studio, and we feel richer for it. We absolutely feel richer for it. Chuck, I gave a long litany of things. Time is yours. Back to you.
So, Harry, we talked about this just last week. First quarter earnings, 93% have now reported. 93% of the companies within the S&P 500, and the average advance is almost 25% from the same quarter a year ago. Revenues were up about 8.3% year over year, and I think if we talked about this at the end of the third quarter, you would say to me, well, Chuck, there's no way that energy would lead. Financials are iffy. Materials, who knows? But you would say tech would be the big winner. So you think about those 4 sectors. They were the big winners. But what has not worked so far this year has been real estate and consumer staples. And if you look at consumer staples, Harry, I mean, I know we're not going to talk about individual stocks, but think about the sector and how important it is for all of us as consumers. But the fact that what is happening now, you have a continued amount of price compression. margins continue to decrease, and because of the competition levels, those staples, have come under some pressure. So, we're concerned about some expectations as we get into 2019. Are we going to remain in that double-digit range? Those expectations might be a little high. We think, Harry, year over year, maybe 6% growth as we get into 2019. Look at Q1 2019 versus 18. We think that's very, very doable.
Nothing wrong with that when you think about it. If you could mail that in, how many years you been in this business, Chuck? 30? How many? 32 years. If you could have that number every year and mail it in, nobody would be complaining.
Oh, there's absolutely.
Now, obviously, we've had some big.
But think about what we talked about before we went to the break: the perma bears versus the perma bulls, and so what's going to happen between now and next quarter and the quarter after that, and
what's with the almost? I don't want to use this word because I don't want anybody to misconstrue that I would make levity of a medical condition, but the markets almost seem schizophrenic. 1 week. Analysts are talking about the R word. Next week, they're talking about how incredible, what a week, 9 straight days of growth. And obviously yesterday, huge day. I don't think it's all over the place.
No, I don't think it's unusual. I mean, it happens,
Isn't it a little more volatile in the last few years than we've seen?
So 2018 is certainly a lot more volatile than 17. 2017, and please don't quote me on this. I think there were 4 days where we traded 1%, plus or minus, and investors all became very, very complacent. So as you got through the first quarter of 2018, a great January and a really bad February, followed up not by a great March, and in April it was sort of basically zero-sum game in April.
How do they decide, though, what gets the big attention? Because not long ago we were talking about, 1 week ago today, we were talking about the potential for an inverted yield curve, and then you always quiz me, Harry, what does that mean? I say, Chuck, I went to the Malamut School. I know what that means. It's not always, but often a recession with an inverted yield curve. Nobody's talking about inverted yield curve this week.
Well, I think so, Harry. What'll happen? Because now this week we're talking about trade, right? And it's just a matter of
good news, though,
of what headlines grab attention and where the money moves. And what happens is you see the continual flow in and out of sectors, and sort of what's kind of neat, Harry, is what we call heat map. And you look at that heat map, and it looks at sectors, where money is moving. Are you moving from growth? Or are you moving to value? As I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago, small caps, the Russell 2000 now have hit, record highs, I think, over the last 3 or 4 days. So, that's where it gets the attention. And the fact that, I'm just going to stay there for a second, if small caps are for real, which we obviously believe they are, because it's part of what we do with our clients. We just don't buy large cap blend. We look at other sectors or asset classes, I'm going to say, within the markets. And for those that own small caps have been rewarded, and small caps at this level are signaling the fact that this economy is in fact for real.
Beautiful. I loved what you just said. I loved it a lot. I'm buying it. Let me ask you this. You mentioned 93% of S&P 500 companies have reported. Out of 93%, how are we doing?
Well, I think as we kind of chatted, like we're 25% to the good.
But out of 93%,
what
percentage?
Oh, that's.
But it's the vast percentage are.
Well, to drive that number, yes. I mean, you're going to get some outliers where you miss.
Yeah.
You miss the top line, you miss the bottom line, you miss both.
But most are actually hitting both top and bottom line, aren't they?
Most are on target. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And so.
What I know we can't talk about any one stock, but there was a major stock that everybody was, two of them actually, everybody was so concerned. Now they're both like setting records. How does it change so quickly? And the two I'm speaking about.
Momentum, psychology.
But I mean like that.
Institutional investing, it's you have to follow the money. You have to follow the flow. And the fact that.
And you do know the two I'm speaking
about. I know
about.
exactly what you're talking about. So, and there might be a couple more that I'm thinking about, but two in particular from yesterday, where a couple analysts were downgrading those stocks, and in fact, they were in a Dow or are in a Dow, and they had just record performance. But kind of takes us into the economy. So you look at the economy. So all the data points that are coming, retail sales up 0.3% last month, industrial production up 0.7%. In April, the leading economic index rose 0.4%, and that was in fact the sixth straight monthly advance. So, uptick in oil, and that's a concern. We have to be worried about that. I know you and Kirk talked about that a little bit last hour.
Let me hit it to you. Let me put it to you this way, Chuck. We now have an average of $3, a little over $3. Of course, in some areas of the country, it's significantly more. On the West Coast with those blends and summer things that they have to do, it's even going to be higher, like $4 and beyond. But it's the average cost right now, I believe, is over $3 per gallon for a regular unleaded gallon. About right?
$2.87.
Okay, I heard over $3.
Yeah,
was the average. Okay, approaching $3. I'll modify. Approaching $3. What does this mean for the economy?
So we think as we get into this peak summer driving season that it will be three or better. West Texas has gone; it's now 71 and change. A year ago it was at 49.
But nobody's changing their plans. Nobody's changing their driving habits. People are still flying. It almost seems. It's unfortunate because obviously that's money that's out of the economy, and it's in the economy in one way, but it's out of maybe the discretionary spending that people would have. But it doesn't seem like it's affecting anybody's habits.
So again, it goes back to the economy. We talked about some of those stats just a few minutes ago. Solid economic backdrop. Uptick in oil prices. So the bad news, Harry, is that's going to suck some dollars away from the consumer. But it also pushed the 10-year Treasury to the intraday peak of 3.12 last week. It's the highest level we've seen since 2011. It's backed off a little bit. It's roughly 3.07. But again, that's something on our radar and something we have to be concerned about. As we get into the peak driving season, I think that's going to bode well, obviously, for our community. The fact that you're bringing on those two new facilities at the same time, the week before July 4th. I mean, I think Atlantic City is really, really well positioned here to have just an incredible summer. And is taking that momentum into the fall and then ultimately into next year.
Totally agree. I mean, you look at the entertainment policy, you look at Stockton. There's actually discussion right now, Chuck, of having what I've been calling for from the very beginning, and that is in Atlantic City being a college campus, if you will. That's being talked about. South Jersey Gas. You have 3 beach concerts, big names already named. The new inventory that's coming on board. It's going to be a really good summer.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be looking forward to driving in Atlantic City. I mean, it might be a little tough, but that's all good news for all of us, certainly.
What does this mean if the city shows that it can handle the new inventory and maybe another casino might close and everybody seems to know or think they know the suspect if one does. But this could be – we've been lagging behind much of the country in terms of enjoying the resurgence of the economy and everything that's been going on. This could be a really good shot in the arm.
Harry, really interesting point because when you look at let's look at real estate for a second. The fact of the matter is that it really is tough moving homes here in where we are. Versus parts of the country where you list a house and you end up in a bidding war, and it's, you not only do you have to be pre-qualified, but you need to leave cash money, so to speak, at the doorstep to be able to participate in that activity.
But it is improving here as well, though. People are selling their homes much quicker than they were, and it is improving. I know it's not to the example that you gave in other parts of the country, but I think it's pretty clear that, I'll give you an example. The place that Margie and I and some of our other family members purchased an Atlantic City piece of real estate, not long ago, multiple units available consistently year in, year out. Now there's one. That's it.
Yeah, so
things are improving.
If you look, nationally, the average number of months that a house sits for sale is 3.2.
3.2 months?
3.2 months.
I thought it was a lot less than that.
But that's the whole country.
Right, that's the worst factored in with the best.
You take areas where real estate is exceptionally hot, and versus areas that it's not.
This is strange because I that number shocks me because I know if you put your house on the market in this market right now, you are not waiting 3 months to sell it.
But let me tell you, the 3.2 months of inventory of existing homes for sale is the lowest total ever recorded.
Wow.
Okay? So, and that statistic that I just gave you represents how long the inventory of existing homes for sale would last if the current sales rates continued and no new inventory was added.
Wow. 31 minutes past the hour. We're going to come right back with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Early in the Morning program. Take a listen one time. You'll understand. He's very intelligent, great, listenable broadcaster, and a tremendous amount of experience over more than 3 decades. The official financial advisor for the Early in the Morning program, the Early in the Morning charity. 609-383-2010 to reach Chuck and learn about his concept where he's perfected total asset management coupled with the all-important asset allocation. 609-383-2010. Great attention to detail. The Malamut Group has Chuck Malamut, the managing director of his team. The Malamut Group, 609-383-2010. Back in just a few minutes. When we come back, Chuck will talk about corporate tax reform, productivity next.
Tired of going on Facebook and seeing nothing but fake news stories, your crazy relatives arguing over politics, and vacation pictures from your annoying coworker? Be sure to like WPG Talk Radio 104.1 on Facebook to get South Jersey news every time you log on. It's the local information you need at your fingertips every time you go on Facebook. Visit the WPG Talk Radio 104.1 Facebook page through WPGTalkRadio.com.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
From personal and business banking to residential and commercial lending. From KidSmart saving to planning her dream wedding. From saving for your golden years to checking off your bucket list. We're with you every step of the way. Welcome to the bank that treats you like family.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and are only barely making minimum payments, know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt. And they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-974-8121. 800-974-8121. 800-974-8121.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hey, thanks very much. Chuck Malamut continues, the official financial advisor for the Early in the Morning program. Unless you didn't finish some of the other information you wanted to impart, Chuck, we're on corporate tax reform, productivity.
Yeah, so Harry, it looks as if the corporate tax reform that one side of the table said it was going to be absolutely an insult and go nowhere it looks as if it is in fact increasing productivity. It's shifting from the 1% to the 2% range. We're looking for an increase in capital expenditures, from various companies. That should provide a further boost. Higher productivity should also help the expansion to continue. But we're hearing is that Perma Bear is saying, no, this money is being used for buybacks. This money is being used to create more income for the top 1%. And the average person is not participating in corporate tax reform. I think what got missed in that message, Harry, is the hundreds of companies in the beginning of this year that were providing their employees $1,000, $2,000 one-time bonuses as a result of this corporate tax reform. So we think that that's another reason it's helped, productivity within the country. So, and again, we're going to know for sure in the next, several quarters as we get to the end of 2018 and into 2019. We're going to know whether or not a corporate tax reform is in fact effective.
Very interesting.
We think it is.
I think you're right. And you talked about small caps, their impressive performance. Anything else about that?
No, we've seen, obviously, there's a number of factors that we talked about why small caps are working, and the best results in the small cap world are actually in the tech sector, especially compared to those mega cap, multinational tech companies. Deregulation has helped. The strength of the U.S. dollar has helped, and some insulation from the trade worries that we just talked about, which happened over the weekend. So small caps are certainly more aggressive than large caps, but all in all, we think that it should be part of any an individual investor's portfolio.
The next item on your list, Chuck, I'm extremely interested in for a lot of reasons. It's something we always cover on the program and during your program, even when we're doing the program outside of the Malamut Financial Hour. The history of 3.9% unemployment. The reason I'm curious about that term is because has there ever been a history of 3.9%?
Well, Harry, what I'm about to tell you is I think if your listeners are sitting down, they might fall out of their seats when they hear this, and hopefully, if they're driving, they're paying attention to the road and not what I'm going to say to you. Over the last 40 years, we've had only 6 months that we've produced an unemployment rate of 3.9% or less, including what just happened in April of this year, 2018, where we hit that jobless rate of 3.9%. So do the math for a second. 6 months out of 40 years, you're a pretty bright guy,
Thank you.
represents just 1.25% of the months over the last 4 decades, or equaling to 1 out of every 80 months that we have had over that time period, over the last 40 years, where we've had unemployment, less or less at that 3.9% number. I mean, so we are truly, at a point in time now where if you're looking for a job, it's going to pretty much fall in your lap. It might not be the job that you want, but think about in your travels, when you're driving, through, like a smaller town in New Jersey or whatever, and now we're seeing the help wanted signs like out on the street, whether it's a
what a change though from what was
a landscaping company, a restaurant, a drugstore,
full
for
service.
instance. I mean,
just teasing.
Yeah. So what happens is,
I'm just teasing.
What happens is that the jobs are out there. I mean, as of the end of March of this year, there were 6.59 million unemployed Americans, with 6.55 million job openings.
So in other words, it could actually potentially be zero. But here's where I'm not surprised. When the model was set up, and I never really understood this non-farm payroll thing, because just vaporizing obvious, relevant sectors really makes no sense to me. And I think at some point we need to modernize. And I don't know if you agree with that or disagree with it, but non-farm payroll is silly to me. But the model was set up that we could never do better than 6% unemployment. It meant that 94% was basically 100% employment. The fact that we're at 96.1% employment is actually, I thought it was unprecedented. You just educated me that it has happened on rare occasion. I thought this had never happened before.
Now let me give you the flip side of jobs. The market hit that all-time that we were in the Great Recession was March of 2009, correct? We hit that 666 on the S&P.
Yes.
So July of that same year of 2009, there were 14.6 million unemployed Americans with 2.1 million job openings. So
that math was terrible.
So think about how far we've come over the last, almost the last decade. I mean,
there was more than twice the amount of people out of work, 2 times.
Seven times. 7 times.
Right. Let me take it back. 7 times. That's correct. And no jobs available to speak of. Now there's 1 job available for every person that's unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, if you would I guess is discouraging sometimes when you hear people say, "I can't find a job." Well, you might not find the job that you're looking for, but you really maybe need to get into the workforce. If you, there are extenuating circumstances where some people can't get to work. Health reasons, Harry. Maybe they.
And listen, I'm all for that. I am very, very compassionate to people that can't work for health reasons, physical, mental. That's what a lot of our assistance programs are for. What did happen, though, Chuck, and it was very, I think, laborious to our economy, there were many able-bodied people who chose not to work because we set up a program of entitlement, basically. Maybe I use that word during your program in a way that's not perfect because I'm not saying an entitlement program, but people that feel entitled, and even politicians who said, hey, if you don't want to work, you shouldn't have to work. And that's not the way this country was set up.
Exactly. So I think the point is that you think about what we've accomplished over the last 10 years, in not only in the job market, but in the equity markets as well. Those that, bailed at the absolute wrong time, obviously, missed a very, very big move and the ability to increase their wealth, so to speak, if they sort of stuck with the plan.
Chuck, if you'll do some overtime, I can't wait for this answer from the great Chuck Malamut. SALT, New Jersey, update. What can you tell us?
So here's what's happening with SALT. I mean, it kind of, as you know, as we got to the end of last year, a lot of attention. Everyone filed their tax returns in for 2017. So now we're focused on 18, and there's 2 states right now, and this is actually, believe it or not, New Jersey's at the forefront.
Wow.
Not only at the forefront with respect to sports, gambling, but SALT. New York and New Jersey have enacted legislation right now that creates this workaround from the $10,000 state and local tax or SALT deduction that we know it limitation. That's part of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
That's going to help you at the state level, but not the federal level.
Well, no, the federal level, correct. So what's happening here is the IRS hasn't ruled on the legality of this arrangements where you and I, as taxpayers for the state of New Jersey, make a charitable contribution.
I know, it's crazy.
To a fund set up by their city, and there has been a lot of discussion about this, allowing them to receive a tax credit against their property taxes. So I think there's more to come because obviously the IRS, where they're going to come with that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to like it one bit. They're going to think it's that's basically a scam. I have to give credit where credit is due, though. It's a creative attempt at writing something that could become very punitive for many. I don't know how that's going to stand, though. It's really, the first time I heard it, I actually laughed.
Yeah, but I think now what happens is, the state enacts it, but then the municipalities, have to go through the process. So, do all the municipalities participate? Imagine living in Egg Harbor Township, and they enact it, and you're in Galloway, and they do not enact it. So,
and that may happen.
But what's going to happen is, you think about from a competitive perspective, why would you want to live in a municipality that doesn't offer this to you? Forget the legality for a second.
It will make certain areas more attractive.
Yeah, from a competitive standpoint, why would you want to live in that municipality?
Now, what would be the reason to vote no, for example? Would there be less revenue coming to the municipality? Would the taxes be paid?
No, the taxes would be the revenue would be the same.
It's really just a creative tax deduction.
I think it's a matter of is the municipality in a position and willing to or wanting to go through the process to establish this. I mean, it takes some time, it takes some resources to get it done. But I think from a competitive perspective, I mean, for sure the northern New Jersey municipalities are definitely on board to do this.
Sure.
The question is, where we are the municipalities, around here willing to participate as well?
Wouldn't you think any high-taxed municipalities would just automatically gravitate to this?
Harry.
Right? Captain Obvious here?
You would think so, but I'm really
captain's hat?
No, but I'm really surprised that you would. I mean, the way politics works, and.
But this is the perfect plan that politicians love, where they can say, look, the federal government screwed you, but we found a creative way, because you deserve it, to do a creative charitable deduction, and we're going to give back to you what they stole. I don't know who would be voting against that.
Well, that's the insanity.
I know.
That we don't.
I know.
That we don't. Imagine the community next to you does it, your municipality, the municipality you live in doesn't. So you're just outraged. You say, I'm selling my house, I'm out of here.
And then people start running against them and saying that these people are really stupid. They voted against giving you much needed tax relief. Vote for me because I will support voting for this. What it will be used by certain politicians to elect or re-elect them, and it will be used by certain challengers as a tool to get elected. It'll just be exploited like politics always is.
Exactly. So let's move on.
As a financial wizard, though, and I consider you absolutely the best, is there something about that seems it doesn't? I don't want to say it's unholy or anything, but doesn't something about that seem a little kind of screwy?
Well, I think the IRS is going to say, well, look, we're really sorry that that you live in a high property tax state,
right? But you don't get to take a charitable deduction,
and because you have not done a very good job running your state. This is not going to be allowable. I mean, I'm thinking that's where this goes, and this will end up in court, and it will be tested. In the meantime,
they're even going to test people that prepaid their taxes under the belief that they would still get the amount of the deduction that they used to get, and the IRS is probably going to say no to that too.
Well, I think, again, I'm not an accountant, don't profess to be one, and I certainly don't know all the IRS regs, but I think what could potentially happen here is that if you have a bill, and you would have had a bill for 2 quarters in New Jersey
into the next year,
and you prepaid that.
You could do that.
That is probably going to be permissible. If you went beyond that, not knowing what your taxes were going to be, that's where the rubber might meet the road in the IRS. And then they said, no, we're going to disallow that.
Right, because they'll say you did some estimated thing and it wasn't even formalized. And plus, they want to take more anyhow, so they find a way to say it's no good. But when I first heard this thing of a charitable deduction for paying your property taxes, I thought I had heard it all, and that just amused me.
Well, look, Harry, that's been floated out there, even during that whole campaign, and I think it's just a little disingenuous for, a senator, Republican from the state of Texas or Tennessee, getting on air and saying, well, you ought to move down here because you guys just do a lousy job running your state. like just get out of there. But it's just not that easy. I mean, a lot of us, including you, have your family and
our
friends
business.
and your businesses here, and you can work remotely. But I think would really be interesting. I'd love to figure this one out. So you can work from anywhere.
Right, Limbaugh does it. Limbaugh got sick in New York, and he moved the EIB network to Florida.
So, but you are working for your company, which is domiciled here.
Yes.
But you are in Florida running your show. And the question is, you need to be out of the state for 6 months in a day. So are you earning your pay from a New Jersey-based employer, or New Jersey, New York-based employer, but you are doing it remotely? I'd be real curious how that would end up.
Unchallenged, you would just get away with it because you would show where you live. The addresses would all match up. You'd have your W-2 as an employee or 1099 if you were an independent contractor. I'm an employee, so it's W-2 income. I think you would probably be okay unless there was so much of it going on. Remember, Chuck, when people in our business, some of the services people were making a lot of money in gratuities?
Yes.
And we never told people what to do in their own decision-making, but we always advised our staff that be very mindful that when you're in a largely gratuity-type-based classification, that you need to be responsible. And remember, the IRS came raining hell.
They did. It was awful days for a lot of people that just said, we don't need to declare.
And yet they knew, hey, you're doing all this that you're not declaring, and so it was a very, very bad day. I don't know the law on that. I'm not so sure that it's driven by exactly where a parent company might be located as much as it would be the state that you work in. Because you take Town Square Media, third largest media company in America, largest in New Jersey. There's radio stations in every single state.
Yeah, I'm thinking that living outside of the state for 6 months in a day with a valid driver's license, voter registration card, title in your cars, I think that would pass where you would be, quote, a Florida resident.
Now you take a Rush Limbaugh who has the EIB network. Now he's under contract with Premier Networks, as Sean Hannity is, and several other people that are at that level. But he moved his entire business to Florida.
That's obvious. So let's leave it on this. Let's talk a little bit again about the length of our economic expansion that we've been living through, Harry. It's now in the 107th month. It's the second longest expansion that we've had, based upon data that we've been tracking since 1854. We've been tracking that data for 164 years. So it's the second longest expansion. And, I just think it's remarkable, the progress that we've made, over the last several years. And I'm thinking that, as obviously as an investor, managing money for our clients, it's been a very, very good opportune time for all of us.
Chuck, I want to share this with you. This is from a longtime New Jersey, we'll call him pensioner, worked a full career, earned his or her pension, and wrote, Harry, remember all the people out there that get the state pension from New Jersey that don't pay income taxes even though the money was derived from New Jersey. If you move to Florida,
right,
no tax.
So here's something interesting that happened.
That's interesting.
But if you on the flip side of that, if you had a deferred compensation plan, participated, and earned the money in New Jersey as a New Jersey resident and moved to Florida, New Jersey does go back to look to capture that tax on that income that you earned but deferred.
Chuck, what an interesting program. We're going to go to break. I know you got to get going. We'll see you later today because we have great news that we'll be delivering. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. Do as I do, not as I say. Turn to Chuck Malamut and his team. The Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley, the Northfield office, again, their number, 609-383-2010. Your program's always great. I just thought today was just wonderful.
Harry, thanks for having me.
Very informative.
We'll see you later this afternoon.
Thank you, Chuck. Look forward to it. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Dr. Bob Zlotnick on deck in the fourth quarter.
Health Update brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
We all feel stress or anxiety from time to time, but if it begins to take over your life, it could be an anxiety disorder. The good news is it's highly treatable. The not so good news, only about a third of the people who suffer with anxiety seek help. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the United States, affecting 40 million adults every year. If you're struggling with an anxiety disorder, it is not uncommon to feel alone and misunderstood. People may view anxiety as a weakness, and they may comment, well, you should just let it go. If it were only that easy. Treatment includes therapy and counseling, medication, and alternative options such as yoga, meditation, and acupuncture. For help, visit the National Alliance on Mental Health at NAMI.org. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, StoloffInjuryLaw.com. Attention you expect, results you deserve.
The third annual Gilda's Club South Jersey Dragon Boat Festival is coming to Lake Lenape Mays Landing Saturday, July 14th. The Dragon Boat Festival is a wonderful team-building activity or just a great day spent outdoors on the water with friends. New this year, a beer garden and a clam bake. All proceeds benefit Gilda's Club South Jersey, where individuals and families impacted by cancer receive free support, education, and hope. Get your Dragon Boat team of 20 paddlers together and reserve a boat now. Details at gildasclubsouthjersey.org.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's good news. Due to the financial hardship many are facing in today's economy, the IRS has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Qualifying for this program will resolve your tax problem, end all collections, and possibly reduce your back taxes by up to 90%. If you are facing wage garnishments, liens, bank levies, audits, or payroll taxes, it's not too late. Your circumstances may qualify you for this special program, protecting your savings and your assets. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's no need to worry anymore. Call the hotline at Victory Tax Solutions to see if you qualify and potentially save thousands. For this free information, call 800-780-3232. 800-780-3232. That's 800-780-3232.
And this portion of Hurley in the Morning also brought to us by Dr. Alan Chenman, the exclusive cosmetic and restorative dentist for the Hurley in the Morning program. Dr. Chenman practices a full scope of general, cosmetic, and implant dentistry. His expertise ranges from porcelain veneers to dental implants, crowns, bridges, along with inlays and onlays. And if you're in that realm of dental implant dentistry, the talent of Dr. Henry Salama at Dr. Chenman's office is second to none in my humble estimation. I am so impressed with Dr. Salama. If you Google him, Dr. Henry Salama, he is so credentialed, so documented, speaks before prestigious groups. I mean, he's just an incredible individual. Dr. Chenman can correct a wide variety of the permanent cosmetic dental problems. He can literally redesign your smile. Dr. Chenman has a photo gallery of before and after cases at SmileCenterNJ.com. 609-601-2199. That's the number to call. And remember, as always, it's like anything in life, the first step towards a beautiful, healthy smile is to make your appointment. In the realm of dentistry, and I know Dr. Chenman would back me up on this, procrastination is your enemy. Small things become big things. Small little nothings that would require no Novocaine, no issue at all, become something where maybe you would need Novocaine, or something that could be a filling that could then turn into something that would be root canal, or something that could be root canal to save the tooth that could turn into tooth extraction. Procrastination is something you don't want to do. Even if you think, oh, I'm afraid to go to the dentist, I'm telling you, give Dr. Chenman a call. You'll be so pleased. 609-601-2199. Tell Dr. Chenman that I, Hurley in the Morning, sent you. You can ask for the special Harry Hurley room. It's an awesome, awesome practice. When you call, you'll most likely talk to Shannon. Remember, they're on the web as well at smilecenernj.com. Dr. Bob Zlotnick is next.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
They may get what they demand. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A meeting has been set up for Republican lawmakers to review classified info with the FBI and the Department of Justice in the Trump campaign investigation. Democrats are wary. Senator Richard Blumenthal.
It's plainly an attempt to intimidate and threaten and thwart the investigation.
Fox's John Decker, live at the White House.
A day after he demanded the Justice Department investigate whether the special counsel's